Hi everyone, my name is Emily. I'm a naturalist that works for Baltimore Woods Nature Center in Marcellus, New York. Today I am in the city of Syracuse and I'm excited to show you a very special project that benefits the communities here. We don't usually think of nature being in a city, but through our Nature in the City program, we are always trying to connect children, their families, and the community to the nature in their backyard, at local parks and green spaces, no matter where they are. Nature can be found in many places in a city, including right behind this busy city street. Take a look at all the trees, gardens, and grasses found that provide beautiful green space and habitat for animals. There's even a wetland. Right behind me is a project that I wanted to show you. It's called the Harbor Brook Treatment Wetland. Thanks to our partners at Save the Rain and Water Environment Protection, this constructed wetland exists right behind Burnett Park and was built to help keep our water clean before it flows into Onondaga Lake. Let's explore what wetlands are and how they can impact water quality right here in Syracuse. In our area, many wetlands are found along rivers, streams, lakes, and ponds. In a wetland, you'll find the presence of water and plants and animals that favor these wet conditions to grow and live. Natural wetlands have an ability to reduce pollution in water flowing through it. Plants and other vegetation can trap sediments and filter them out of the water. Organisms like bacteria can absorb excess nutrients and convert them into materials that plants and other organisms use to survive. A wetland can act almost like its own recycling system, taking up the materials and contaminants we don't want in the water and using them to sustain itself. Based on all that we know about the science of wetlands, we can construct our own wetlands to replicate these incredible features and clean our water. Let's take a closer look at the Harbor Brook Treatment Wetland that was constructed right next to Harbor Brook off of Velasko Road in Syracuse. This project contains 3 different types of wetland-like systems built to clean the water that comes from a combined sanitary and storm sewer system before it goes into Harbor Brook. Harbor Brook is a tributary to Onondaga Lake, so all the water that gets cleaned with this project eventually flows into Onondaga Lake. Maybe you're wondering why that water needs to be cleaned in the first place. When you brush your teeth in the morning or wash your hands in your home, do you know where that water goes? Many times it goes down the drain into the local sewage treatment plant. However, when it rains really hard, sometimes the water in the sewer system reaches capacity and there's no other place for the water to go except to flow into the rivers and brooks that lead into Onondaga Lake. This used to happen with Harbor Brook. Now, because of the Harbor Brook Treatment Wetland, the overflow from the combined sewer system flows into the wetland and gets cleaned before entering the brook. Think of the Harbor Brook Treatment Wetland as a natural sewage treatment plant or like a water purifier you have in your home. We are going to show you how the Harbor Brook Treatment Wetland cleans the water traveling through it. But first, go ahead and imagine yourself as a teeny tiny water droplet. Think about when it rains heavily and water lands on the street, sidewalks, and in your yard. Some of that water gets absorbed into the ground, especially if there are a lot of plants and trees in your area, and the rest makes its way to the drainage pipe on the street. In the neighborhood surrounding Harbor Brook, when the sewer system reaches enough capacity, that excess water is diverted toward the Harbor Brook Treatment Wetland. As a little water droplet, you'll be entering a system called the SandSep facility. Get ready for a crazy ride. The water that enters the SandSep flows around and around. At this point, any floating material or grit in the water gets removed. Kind of like when you're in a round pool and everyone in a pool walks in the same direction and all of the stuff in the pool ends up in the center. From here, the water flows into the first cell of the wetland. As a tiny water droplet, you are now entering the floating island cell. A floating island is exactly what it sounds like. In this section, there are platforms that float, and aquatic plants grow on these platforms with their roots reaching down into the water. Through the plant roots, nutrients and contaminants like phosphorus and nitrogen get absorbed and used by the plants. The roots of these floating islands also create excellent habitat for smaller organisms like macroinvertebrates and microbes that also absorb nutrients and contaminants. The plants and organisms use the materials we want filtered out of the water, helping to clean it. Water can flow from this system into the second cell. Now, as a tiny water droplet, you are entering the vertical downflow cell. Water moving into the vertical downflow cell enters the systems through the white pipes that allows the water to flow onto splash pads at the surface of the wetland. These splash pads have different native plants growing all along the surface. As this cell floods, the water soaks into the sandy ground and travels down through layers of gravel, filtering out contaminants along the way. Once the water has flowed down into the bottom of the system, the water is directed to the third wetland cell. Welcome to the final cell. Cell 3 behaves most like the natural wetlands we see here in central New York and is called the surface flow wetland. When water flows into this system, natural processes begin to break down and remove pollutants from the water. Within a wetland system like this, bacteria break down pollutants in the water and change those pollutants into materials the plants can use to survive. From here, the clean water flows into Harbor Brook. As a tiny water droplet, you've made it through all the wetland systems and into the brook. Now that you're clean, you can flow all the way to Onondaga Lake. The Harbor Brook Treatment Wetland is effective at cleaning water flowing through it. The water that enters and exits the system is tested to determine what kind of pollution is captured and filtered out of the water. Results of this testing have shown this system filters out waste materials from our homes and other suspended solids, along with contaminants like ammonia and phosphorus from the water before it flows into Harbor Brook. This constructed wetland captures and treats approximately 34.6 million gallons. That's 523 Olympic-sized swimming pools full of combined sewage each year, and substantially improves the quality of the stormwater discharge into Harbor Brook. Not only does it clean the water, but it does so in a way that uses vegetation that is nice to look at. All that pretty plant life provides homes for friendly wildlife to use too. Isn't it great to see Onondaga County continuing to build innovative infrastructure within the city of Syracuse that helps keep our water clean before it flows into brooks, streams, and rivers that lead to Onondaga Lake? Guided by nature and through the construction of the Harbor Brook Treatment Wetland, our community benefits from clean water that also provides space for recreation where we can enjoy the nature in our city. If you want to learn more about the Harbor Brook Treatment Wetland, visit SaveTheRain.us. And don't forget to check out our website, baltimorewoods.org, and our social media for more videos. Thanks for joining us, everyone. We'll see you next time.